the Football Game Plan's Power Rankings here on the Game Plus Network. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Week 16 in the NFL. We have almost reached the ending point of the regular season, and there is still a lot of moving and shaking to go on in our Power Rankings. So without further ado, let's start with number 32 on our Week 16 NFL Power Rankings. At number 32 are the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, the Bengals have good players. They're just not a good football team this season. Running back Joe Mixon and wide receiver Tyler Boyd are amongst the difference makers that they have on this roster. The hope is that once the quarterback position stabilizes and plays more consistent ball, their fortunes will change for the better. Over in Detroit, they are currently 3-10-1 on the season. Not necessarily what you expected from head coach Matt Patricia and his Lions squad heading into 2019. I mean, they got rid of a guy in Jim Caldwell who posted back-to-back 9-7 seasons, including a playoff appearance as well, because the GM said that 9 wins isn't good enough. Well, in 2 seasons in the Motor City, Patricia has a 9-20-1 record, and it was just announced that they plan on bringing him back for 2020. So I guess 9 wins is good enough if you spread it out over 2 seasons. Now here's a look at teams 26 through 30. The Carolina Panthers are in a free fall at this point of the season, but at least we get to see rookie quarterback Will Grier this week as he was named the starting quarterback. Both the Giants and Redskins meet up in DC this weekend in what could be a matchup between 2 rookie quarterbacks in Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins. Both were taken in the first round this past April, and the Dolphins are one of the more competitive 3-11 teams that you'll see in the league. But the Los Angeles Chargers have been flat out bad this season, more in particular quarterback Phillip Rivers, who hasn't looked like the future Hall of Fame player this season. They just continue to find new ways to lose offensively, and they have 2 games left in the season to try and right the ship. Moving on to teams 21 through 25, and the Arizona Cardinals will be one of the worst of first stories that you'll read about over the course of the offseason. I like how competitive they've been throughout the year. Both Oakland and Jacksonville have some soul searching to do for 2020, and the Colts just couldn't capitalize on a hot start this season, as the best they could hope for now is a 500 record. Now the Jets at times have shown the ability to compete with some of the better teams in the NFL. It's been the consistency that hasn't been there for them to pull off a lot of wins. This upcoming game against Pittsburgh gives them a great opportunity to do just that.
I'm Alex Marinoni, offering you Football Game Plan's best bets for Week 16. With college football approaching bowl season, there will be 3 games slated for primetime on Saturday. The first game will be in Tampa, where the Buccaneers will host the Houston Texans. Both of these teams are more similar to each other than you would think. Both quarterbacks have big game-breaking capabilities and find themselves in the middle of shootouts constantly. The Bucs sport one of the best run defenses in the league, but are also challenged in stopping the pass. It's easy to expect both of these quarterbacks to drop back 50 times apiece and air it out. One thing, too, about this Texans team is that they rarely put together solid performances back-to-back, especially when they play opponents inferior to them. With the Titans coming again in Week 17, this could be a week where the defenses let up some big plays. This brings me to that over-under number set at 53. That's a lot of points, but with the way these 2 teams can score and their inabilities defensively to stop the passing game, I like the over to hit here. With the AFC East on the line, we have the New England Patriots playing host to the Buffalo Bills. This game will feature 2 of the league's finest defenses. Both of these defenses are coming off 4 interception performances that help propel them to victories. In this matchup, it will be tougher to gain an edge with Tom Brady and Josh Allen playing mistake-free football. Both of these offenses aren't exactly lighting it up, but have done enough to complement the defense. Looking at this game, I am feeling really good about the 2 bets, the spread and the over-under. Last time these 2 teams played, they played to a 16-10 final. Colder, possibly nasty conditions in New England this week, the over-under is set at 38.5. I like the under to hit again. As for the spread, the Patriots are favorites at 6.5. Last time they faced off, Josh Allen got knocked out of the game in the 4th quarter, and the Bills were still able to cover. The best bet here would be Buffalo to cover that spread. In the nightcap, we have the Los Angeles Rams heading to San Francisco to take on the now 5th-seeded 49ers. This is a tough game to predict because you never know which Rams team is going to show up. To the 49ers' credit, they have played well week in and week out. They have been one of the most consistent teams in the league, and even when not at their best, they're in position to win the game. For the Rams, it seems like they are either playing like it's 2017 and 2018, or they're getting blown out. With it being a division game and a must-win for LA, I do like their chances to come out in this one. Another thing I like is, although they're 8-6 on the year, the Rams are 9-4 against the spread. The 49ers, despite being at 11-3 for the year, find themselves just 8-4-1 against the spread this year, and seeing the spread set at -6.5 in favor of San Fran, I like the Rams to cover it. That was Football Game Plan's best bets for Week 16. I'm Alex Marinoni.
Let's take a quick commercial break and be back with more Football Game Plan's Power Rankings. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW in his latest album, Season 2. You can check that out on iTunes as well as doyoumusic.com. Nesby Phipps, Art, Life, Entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app.
Well, the game of football has taught me so many things, man. Now, think about the huddle we have right now, right? I tell people this all the time. There's a reason why they call it a huddle. You know, people have been huddling all their lives, trying to find ways to enhance each other's lives. The great teams do that all the time. The great teams do that. The better the huddle, the better the team. And so it's simple, man, how if you huddle for all the right reasons, we wouldn't have Ferguson. We wouldn't have some of the challenges that we have in our society. But as we all know, there's always a moment when somebody doesn't belong in the huddle. And yet we have to continue to move on. We got to continue to play. So the game of life, man, is always starting with a huddle. And for me, I'm lucky enough to know that, you know, by the graces of God, man, it's been a nice huddle. It's been a nice huddle. And if I just keep making sure that he's in front of me, I'm gonna be all right.
Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Financial Coaching LLC, Investment, Retirement, Security. Stewardship Credit. Financial growth is in your hands. Stewardshipcredit.com. Adrienne Marie Photo, photographer, writer, management. AdrienneMariePhotography.com. Lock Multimedia. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGo Offense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGo Offense. Welcome back to Football Game Plan's Power Rankings as we look at teams 16 through 20. The Rams, you can't figure out, each week is a new team. Last week they got beat down by the Dallas Cowboys. And the Browns, what can you say about them? At least they're 6-8 with a chance to get a 500 record. But other than that, they have been very disappointing this season. So have the Atlanta Falcons, but after their bye week, they have been outstanding. I think Dan Quinn, the head coach, has saved his job with how they came out of the bye week playing excellent football and are coming off of a big-time upset over the San Francisco 49ers. You look at teams 11 through 15, Tennessee is playing some really good football. The hope is that they can continue to play that ball this week against New Orleans. Pittsburgh had a setback last week against the Buffalo Bills in a game that they needed to win, and the Philadelphia Eagles set up nicely for a big showdown in Big D versus the Cowboys. And speaking of those Cowboys, you saw what the offense looked like last week against the Los Angeles Rams. That's the Cowboys offense we expected to see all season long. I thought Dak Prescott was a Pro Bowl snub. He has an opportunity to cement his legacy big time in Dallas with a win over the hated rival, the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm Alex Marinoni, offering you Football Game Plan's best bets for Week 16. Down in Atlanta, we have the Falcons taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both teams are coming off big wins on the road as underdogs. The Falcons, since their bye week, has been playing some inspired football and have looked very much like the playoff caliber team we were all expecting. The Jaguars, on the other hand, despite the victory last week, have been trending down with losses of 35, 17, 22, 20, and 23 in their previous 5 games. Even with the win in Oakland last week, it really took Oakland's mistakes to keep them in the game. For two 5-9 teams, a 7-point spread might seem like too much, but I believe the Falcons are more than capable of covering. Taking Atlanta to win by a touchdown is the best bet here. The red-hot Baltimore Ravens head to Cleveland to take on the Browns. When these two teams squared off in the beginning of the year, it was the Browns getting all the buzz with all the playoff talk and backing it up the hype with a 40-25 victory in Baltimore. But since then, things have started to spiral for the Browns, sitting at 6-8 and coming off a loss that week to the 3-win Cardinals. As for the Ravens, you can see since the loss, they have been, well, kind of good, winning 10 straight games and 6 of them coming in form of blowouts. They have been the clear-cut best team in the NFL since Week 4 and currently are just one win or one New England loss away from the top seed in the AFC. Despite all that, this is still a divisional game and a must-win for both teams in that regard, which has me liking two bets here, the over-under and the spread. The over-under set at high 48.5. Cleveland has the ability to run on this defense, and Chubb going over 160 last time they played, adding Kareem Hunt to the mix this time around should only help that. We all know how the Ravens can run the ball with Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, and Gus Edwards. With the run being the focal point in the game, expect the time to tick and long drawn-out possessions. With that being the case, the under would be the best bet. As for the spread, currently sitting at -10 in favor of Baltimore, this is a tough AFC North battle. It will be close. Expect Cleveland to cover. In Tennessee, we have the Titans playing host to the New Orleans Saints. The Titans are coming off a tough loss to Houston, but are still not out of the AFC South as of yet, with their matchup in Houston coming Week 17. The Saints have already locked up the NFC South crown, but have a chance to earn home field advantage in the NFC with a couple more wins. I expect this game to be a battle, an underrated heavy defensive struggle nonetheless, for a good part of the game. Points, especially in the second half, will be put on the board as both teams will press in what should be a tightly matched game, but I don't think enough points get scored. With the over-under set at 50.5, I can see the game falling under that. The Carolina Panthers will be sending out their third quarterback this season as rookie Will Grier against the Indianapolis Colts. The Panthers have been struggling offensively as of late, turning the ball over at an alarming rate. Despite this, the Panthers have been able to stay competitive in the end of games. As for the Colts, things are getting worse and worse by the week as they have been stifled with injuries all year. The offense is struggling to do just enough like they were early on, and the defense has been giving up late scores week after week. Indy's strength this year has been on the ground, however, and with Carolina's defense giving up over 140 yards a game on the ground, there's a chance that Indy can exploit that this week. This is a tough game to predict as well because the Panthers will be sending out a rookie quarterback, and looking around the league, young quarterbacks have had success this year. With the over-under set at 45.5, the best bet here would be to take the over. In what could be the battle for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, we have the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Both of these teams have put in the effort all year and have not quit, which is respectable. These teams, despite their draft positions, definitely feel that they can win this game and will be ready to go. At quarterback, you have two veterans who are playing for jobs next year, somewhere in the NFL. So they will want to showcase their talents in this one. Also, with Joe Mixon sitting at 925 yards, expect him to aim to get to 1,000 in this game. Seeing the over-under set at 46.5, expect both quarterbacks to air it out and put up the points. The best bet here would be to take the over. At MetLife Stadium, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the New York Jets. Both teams are coming off tough losses, but more so, the Jets will need to overcome the loss of many starting and even second-string players. Down to second and third-string offensive linemen, a third and fourth-string linebacker and secondary core, and practice squad players at receiver, it will be a tough road to climb against a desperate Pittsburgh team. Now, the Steelers have had to deal with adversity themselves, also down to their third-string quarterback, and Juju Smith-Schuster nowhere to be found or nowhere in return. But they have been playing well all year and have been able to handle that adversity much better. In this game, I think Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson, and Le'Veon Bell can keep it close for a while, but expect this suffering front of Pittsburgh to get after Sam and pull away. With the spread set at -3 for Pittsburgh, take them to cover here. In Washington, we have the battle of rookie quarterbacks between the Giants and Redskins. Both teams currently sit at 3-11, with last place in the division on the line. With these two teams met the first time, the Redskins were going through uncertainty at quarterback and at head coach. Since Haskins has taken over and the coaching staff has remained stable, the Redskins have been playing very good football. The Giants, on the other hand, since that win, have not won a game since last week when Eli Manning, in his potentially final start, picked up a blowout win against Miami. Down the stretch here, the Redskins have been the most consistent team, and with the spread set at -2.5, I like them to cover it at home. For Football Game Plan's Best Bets, I'm Alex Marinoni.
And welcome back to Football Game Plan's Power Rankings. As we enter the top 10, 6 through 10, you're looking at New England, Seattle, Minnesota, Houston, Buffalo at number 7. But when you look at the Minnesota Vikings and what they're doing, probably one of the more balanced teams in the NFC. Keep an eye on them moving forward, as well as the Houston Texans as they're looking to hit their stride. Speaking of hitting their stride, you have to be excited about the Buffalo Bills, who made the playoffs for the second time in 3 seasons, in their first 10-win season in quite some time, all because they're doing it their way. Defensively, they're excellent. Offensively, Josh Allen is playing Josh Allen ball, and the Bills are definitely comfortable with that, and that's why they are winning these football games, because they trust in what they have back there under center. Moving into the top 5, Baltimore remains number 1, unquestioned the best football team in the NFL. San Francisco, despite their loss last week, is still one of the better teams in the NFC. But keep an eye on the Kansas City Chiefs. No one is talking about how they've improved defensively from that Chargers game since then. This is a football team that is playing great offense, better defense, one of the more dangerous teams moving forward that you want to keep an eye on as the NFL season, regular season, comes to a close.
I'm Alex Marinoni, offering you Football Game Plan's best bets for Week 16. In Denver, we have the Broncos playing host to the Detroit Lions. Both teams have had to deal with adversity when it comes to injuries. However, the Broncos, as of late, have stepped up defensively, and since Drew Lock has been named the starter, the offense has provided a little bit of a spark. As for Detroit, they have been on the downturn, really since Week 9, as they currently sit in a 7-game losing streak. Both of these teams are nearly identical, giving up 113 yards per game on the ground, but the Lions surrender over 300 yards a game in the air. This could be a game for Drew Lock to bounce back after a tough loss last week in KC and put up some big numbers. The Lions have struggled on the ground, and with David Blau coming back down to earth, the offense has sputtered. Seeing the spread set at -6.5, I like the Broncos to cover it at home. In Los Angeles, we have the Chargers taking on the Oakland Raiders. Both of these teams have not had the years that they were expecting, with the Raiders dropping 4 straight and falling out of the playoff race, and the Chargers being one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL. The thing with the Chargers, though, is although they have been inconsistent in results, they have been consistent in bouncing back after a tough loss. Losing by over 30 last week, we can expect them to bounce back here. As for the Raiders, it has gotten really bad, and it has to take a lot out of them last week, losing potentially their last home game ever in Oakland in dramatic fashion. I expect the Raiders to possibly come out flat in this game and the Chargers to bounce back, especially if Phillip Rivers is getting closer to the end of his playing days. Similar to Eli, he's going to want to end this season on a high note, just in case. With the spread set at -5.5, I like the Chargers to handle business here. In what could possibly be the game of the week, we have the Dallas Cowboys heading to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Winner of this game will ultimately be the champion of the NFC East. The Cowboys were sputtering big time, losing 3 in a row before getting the big win at home against the Rams. The Eagles lost a tough one late to Miami that should have ended their season, but with the Cowboys struggling, took the Giants to overtime and won, and then came from behind against Washington to get the much-needed win to put themselves back into the conversation. Both defenses have been nearly identical, giving up 343 and 345 yards per game, but the Cowboys' offense has been great this year, as they are among the best with nearly 444 yards per game. Last time these two teams played, the Eagles were missing a lot of players, and the Cowboys took care of business. This time around, the Eagles are missing a lot of players still and look to be disadvantaged. Also, with all the hot seat rumblings about Jason Garrett, one thing you have to give him credit for is his ability to win divisional games. Because of that, I'm looking at the -2.5 point spread for Dallas. I like them to win this game by at least a field goal. In Seattle, we have the number 1 seed in the Seahawks playing host to the Arizona Cardinals. The Seahawks have surprised being in the driver's seat as the number 1 team, NFC's number 1 team. The Cardinals have had a very up and down year, with some games looking like a force and others where inexperience truly shows. Arizona here played spoiler for Cleveland and would love nothing more than to play spoiler down the road of some of these playoff teams. The Seahawks, despite being 11-3, have shown signs of inconsistency on the offensive side of the ball. There are times where Russell Wilson has it going and they can't be stopped, and others when they struggle to move the chains. They shouldn't have too many issues this week, especially at home, and if there's one thing you never doubt, is Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson at home come playoff time. With the spread set at -9.5, expect the 12th man to be too much on the rookie quarterback and the Seahawks to cover that spread. On Sunday night, we have the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Chicago to take on the Bears. The Bears have not been the same Bears of last year offensively, but now the defense is starting to give up the big plays. The pass rush hasn't been the same, and the secondary have been exposed. All this is the wrong recipe going up against the Kansas City Chiefs offense, who appears to be clicking at the right time. With just about everyone at full strength, Patrick Mahomes and company look to finally be ready to get into that postseason play. It's even more apparent with the way the defense has stepped up for KC. This could be a long night for Chicago. With the spread set at -5, I like KC to handle business here and cover. On Monday night, we have the Green Bay Packers heading to Minnesota to play the Vikings. The winner of this game could control their destiny as NFC North champions. The Packers have played well all year, but have played just well enough to squeak by in some of these games. Offensively, they aren't putting up the points they were early on, but have done just enough to keep up their winning ways. As for the Vikings, they have been playing at a different level. Winners of 4 of their last 5, with their last 2 coming in form of blowouts. They are playing their best football at the right time and will be in week 2 with their star receiver coming back in Adam Thielen. Now, losing Dalvin Cook could be an issue, but the way Mike Boone stepped up last week is encouraging. This game will be close, hard-fought battle that should come down to the end. Seeing the spread set at plus 4.5 for Green Bay seems like too many points given to Aaron Rodgers. I like this to be a field goal game, so the best bet here would be for the Packers to cover. For Football Game Plan's Best Bets, I'm Alex Marinoni.
So that's a wrap for this week's episode of Football Game Plan's Power Rankings here on the Game Plus Network. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also, keep it locked here on the Game Plus Network Thursday and Friday for our Football Game Plan NFL All 32 show and our College Football Tailgate show as well. And subscribe on iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating.